Welcome to part 2. At this point in the film, we realize that no quote-unquote victim in this film is even a real person. They're just like the two morons in the bathroom. Nothing but props for the plot, as well as for making us feel exactly the way we're supposed to feel at any given moment. There's nothing organic about this experience, nothing that makes us believe this is anything more than a director placing people on a set and telling them, do whatever you need to do to knee-jerk a reaction out of the audience. This is most prominently shown by the fact that at the beginning of each and every trap, the victims have to give off a contrived little scream. You must make your way through barbed wire. Ah! You must find the code without burning yourself to death. Ah! They may as well have just put up a little graphic and gone, eh? 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 This is what those in the business refer to as manipulation, and it's all over this film. In fact, there isn't a single element of this film that isn't manipulative in some way, most especially problem number 3, probably the biggest problem of all, the killer. Throughout this whole pathetic excuse to show us people in traps, they try to thread together some kind of mystery as to who the killer is. And since this guy can't deliver anything in the way of talent or imagination, we naturally have scenes that try and convince us in one way or another that every character might be the killer. You can tell when these moments come, because when we're supposed to think a certain person is the killer, they suddenly start talking with the exact timing, meter, and inflections as the killer, even though we've never heard them do this before. So maybe he's the killer. Or maybe he's the killer. Maybe the killer is this door. When in fact, it doesn't matter who the killer is, and it never will. Not once, ever in this film. Furthermore, the scenes trying to supposedly give us clues as to who the killer is are all so obviously manipulative that the audience never has any motivation to try and figure it out because we know we're being misled. Another problem here is the supposed motivation slapped onto the killer to explain why he's doing this. He can't stand people who don't appreciate life. Though apparently he doesn't even appreciate his enough to do anything with it but stick people in traps. But even more than that, how the fuck hell is putting people in these traps supposed to make them appreciate life in the first place? If I was stuck in one of these things and I managed to get out of it, I wouldn't appreciate life any more than I already do. I'd just be glad I wasn't in the trap anymore. And even if putting people in life-threatening situations would make them appreciate life more, why waste a lot of time and money making it so elaborate and purposefully ironic? You could get exactly the same result by having someone dangle these people over a balcony for a few minutes. Despite even the writer's poorest of efforts, the killer's motivations never become anything more than moving the plot along, stringing the audience along, and showing us more people in traps. So after a few flashbacks, the scene then returns to the two dummies in the room, who are again doing exactly what they're supposed to do in order to figure out just enough, but never quite enough to actually escape. Hey, how do I know you didn't put me here? Because I'm in the same situation you are. Nuh-uh, you have something I don't. You have information. Now either you tell me what's going on or I'll... Hey, hang on a second. First of all, I just spent 20 minutes of screen time telling you what's really going on. Second, if I know what's really going on, why on earth would I keep it from you? And why would I have given you the litany of the Jigsaw Killer at all? I probably just wouldn't have said anything. And even if I was keeping things from you, what's the urgency of me telling you all of a sudden? It's not like the information is going to get us out of these chains. I just really don't understand your motivations for this sudden out-of-character outburst. Shut up! Now if you don't start talking, I'll cut you with this glass. This very glass that I'm holding up to my face right now. Oh wait, this is a two-way mirror. Oh, really? Wow, well that was convenient. Sure is a lucky thing you just got pissed off and threatened to kill me out of the blue for no reason, or we may never have noticed that. You can't write! So then the film follows the tired, uneven, and boring formula of figure things out, cut to a flashback, figure things out, cut to a flashback. This flashback involves the last thing the doctor said to his daughter. The little girl is laying in bed when she sees a man in her room. Instead of screaming and frantically running into her parents' bedroom, she calmly and slowly walks to their room and very sedately states, "There's a man in my room." Seeing this for the first time, I honestly wondered if they were trying to make the point that the girl was supposed to be possessed or hypnotized in some way. It wouldn't have surprised me at all after the shit in this film, but no, it's once again a hokey plot service. Can't have the man discovered after all. So after a moment with his daughter, the doctor leaves, and then finally we see the guy from Lost, God loves you as he loved Jacob, hiding in the closet. So now that it doesn't matter if he's found there or not, the girl finally screams like she would have done in the first place. God, you can't write. Then for no reason, we are forced to watch these two being terrorized by the guy from Lost. He waves a gun in the face of the little girl and her mom, and congratulations, you've actually managed to make me feel uncomfortable in a scene, but in the most basic way possible. Fictional or no, it isn't easy to watch a child in perilous situations, but this feeling is default and never rises above default. Putting aside the standard feelings of watching a terrorized little girl, the scene is actually really annoying. If you ever watch it again, listen to how friggin' noisy it is. Just gives me a headache. I'm also still trying to figure out why we needed to watch it in the first place. So from here, we then sidetrack into yet another plot thread / flashback that doesn't go anywhere. Turns out the cop is watching the doctor's house because he has become obsessed with the Jigsaw killer case and is convinced that the doctor is involved. Because of a pen light. Even though his alibi was airtight and there were other suspects he could have been obsessed with. In yet another flashback, we learn that the cop and his partner found out where the killer was hiding due to evidence discovered on the videotape. His partner asks, "Is it enough for a warrant?" And the main cop replies, "Who said anything about a warrant?" Actually, they did have enough for a warrant. There is no reason they wouldn't have bothered to get one, and no reason why they had to go by themselves, except to set up more meaningless plot threads in the film. You can't write. So the two cops eventually end up in a warehouse where they discover the killer's odds and ends and finally stumble upon another victim. The man silently pleads with them when all of a sudden they hear the killer coming up in an elevator. So since they know he's on their way, and they know they have the drop on him, the two cops position themselves on either side of the elevator, and when it arrives, they tackle the killer to the ground, slap the cuffs on him, and take him away. Oh no, I'm sorry. That's what someone who wasn't retarded would have done. These two hide in the warehouse and let the killer approach the victim, who now due to his proximity can easily use him as a hostage. From this point on, these two idiots deserve what happens to them. After waiting until the killer is right over the victim, the two finally come out and order the killer to get on his knees. But what do you know, he activates one of the slow-acting traps, and the two have to either save this guy's life or take the killer into custody. In an impressive display of incompetent police work, the main cop puts the guy on the floor and then stares at his partner, who tries to figure out the trap. He doesn't search the suspect, doesn't slap the cuffs on him, and doesn't even remove his convenient hood in a costume that looks like it's right out of Scooby-Doo, so that if he actually does get away, he'll at least have a face to identify. Where the hell did he get his badge? Toys R Us? They manage to rescue the victim, but the unsearched, unrestrained, and still anonymous killer whips out a blade and slashes the cop's throat. Then he takes off down a hall. The partner goes after him, but stumbles onto yet another trap and gets killed, leaving the Phantom of the Opera free to escape. So meanwhile, and God, this back and forth is really getting on my nerves, the two in the bathroom are trying to find a hidden X, which is a clue they were told is around here somewhere. All of a sudden, the kid tells him to turn off the lights. The light goes off, revealing an X on the wall, and the doctor bashes it in and finds a case containing a cell phone and a few cigarettes. A note inside the box tells the doctor that he can kill the kid by dabbing poisoned blood onto the end of a cigarette and giving it to him to smoke. He also discovers that the cell phone can only receive calls, it can't make them. The doctor asks the kid how he knew to shut off the lights, and after a bitter exchange, the kid reveals that he found a picture of the doctor's wife and daughter tied up in his wallet. The doctor asks, "Why didn't you show me this before?" And with a look of concern for the doctor's feelings, the kid replies, "I couldn't." That's right, he couldn't. Because the scene needed him to be sympathetic. Even though just a few scenes ago he very unsympathetically threatened to kill the doctor with a shard of glass because the plot needed him to discover the two-way mirror. Have I mentioned you can't write?